This has been the most successful so far as far as registrations, and I'm feeling like from the presentations we've had, it's probably been the most successful we've had from information that's presented. If you have a question about boxcars, talk to Eric. Yeah. So a couple things. We had like 53 pre-registrations for the group. We've had 10 people who've come to the door, so 63 people here. That's pretty good. We're real happy about that. And Bud, you're gonna.
So before we start the next presentation, I would like to introduce Paul Cameron, also known as the other Paul, the president of the Santa Fe Railroad Historical and Modeling Society. If you'd like to make a few comments, and then we'll get on with the presentation. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Bud. Yeah, I'm the other Paul Brown. You guys are familiar with the guy that lives here in Indianapolis. So, I'm from Colorado, made the drive out here. I've got some other business in the region, so I didn't come just for this, but I made it into a bigger trip. Really happy I came. This is a nice little mini meet. Glad to see you guys are all helping them out, coming out and participating. If you like what you see here, consider joining the society. There's my sales pitch. I gotta do it, man. I gotta do it. We're always looking for members, and we think we have the best product out there as far as the Santa Fe Railway is concerned. So just make a consideration, take a look at our publication if you get a chance. Really good authors that do work in that, and we get a lot of different information. If you're in the society or if you're interested, we do our conventions once a year. This year we're heading to Houston, Texas. So get prepared for that. Wear clothes that dry real quick, you know, because you're going to sweat like crazy down there, I think. But it is early June also. I think June 7th through or 11th through the 13th, I believe, are the dates. It's coming together. We got a little late moving on it, but everything's coming together for that convention. We're going to do one side trip to the Galveston Railway Museum. It's going to be a pretty fun day down there, and we'll have 3 days of convention. 2 of those are clinics like you're seeing today. We get a bunch of guys in, do some nice presentations and stuff. So, it's a joy running this society. There's a lot of work behind the scenes that happen, and some of the guys in this room are part of that. They take care of business for us. They write articles. They do a bunch of nice stuff like that. So if you got any questions for me, if you see me running around, I'll try and answer them as best I can. It is just, you know, when you're an officer, you're doing some of the ugly business stuff of the society, and that's even fun sometimes too. So. But thank you guys.
I'm not exactly sure how to introduce this one. If you've seen the Facebook pages, Terry Lavelle and his crew are building an incredible model railroad. When you see this presentation, you'll see how incredible it is. So I'm going to quit talking and let Dave do the talking for him.
Hey everybody, I'm Dave Heiler. I know Terry Lavelle was on the boat, but because of his accent, you know, you may have a hard time understanding him, so I got talking to do this. Yeah. Like we said, we're doing Lake Santa Fe. Our periods are 1990 through 2005. Also, you know, the BNSF colorful years, or like I like to say, before the G-Road swoosh era. People often ask why are we building Southern Transcon? Well, first of all, you know, it's a kind of common ground between Santa Fe modeler and BNSF modeler. And we're also incorporating several elements that hasn't been done or that we haven't seen done on the model railroad. Such as, like when you'll see Willow Springs, you know, we haven't seen the animal yard, you know, modeled to the extent it is. And then you'll also notice a lot of locations that we're modeling. You know, whenever people model either some of or all the Southern Transcon, they don't feature these locations. And then in Tennessee, we've noticed it's a bit of a model railroad dead zone. Like Nashville, it's only got one model railroad club, you know, despite being the state capital. Believe it or not, the track plan actually started before the building, so this is one of the rare cases where the building was actually designed around the track plan. Starting with the lowest level, this is actually the staging yard. It's divided into two sections, what we call the auto yard and then the manual yard. The auto yard, why we call it that is because we have the capability to allow the computer to run trains for us. And whenever it runs a train into the auto yard, that's where they'll park its trains. And then the manual yard is the stub end, and if folks are running their trains themselves and want to park, we may sometimes ask them to put it in the stub end. It's 13 tracks in the manual yard, and then the auto yard is 12 tracks plus a setup track. The next level, this is the most eastern point on the layout, Willow Springs, Illinois. Now this is where some parts are a little bit more appropriate for Santa Fe and others a little bit more appropriate for BNSF. This is being one of them because Willow Springs, as it is here, was just being built at the merger. This is also designed to run the entire length of the train route, which, by the way, the overall dimensions is 100 by 40 feet. And even then, it still wraps around the ends. So it's quite a yard. And then also a few other noticeable places, Joliet, Illinois, the power station, and then we got NR Junction in Emporia. Also, a little note about it, NR Junction, this is where the staging yard, you notice when you come out, it's climbing, and then right here, it goes into the Y. There we go. This is where how it accesses the layout. So you come out, and it comes out, and you can go either direction. Then Emporia, and then through here you got Eleanor, and then on the first level, the most western point is Matfield Green, and then you go into the Helix, and then from there you come out of the Helix and come through Augusta and there, and El Dorado. That's also a lot of chemical plants through there featuring. And then long stretches of single track, and then back into the Helix. Or, I'm sorry, for the second level, you don't go in the Helix, you actually start climbing. This is started at Curse Hill. This is how the second level will become the third level. So all through here, you're climbing. And it comes out to the third level. So the significant thing about the third level is here at Stook, this is where we're getting a bit of a branch line. This is where it goes out to Bayton. This is actually strictly Santa Fe because it got spun off there in the early 90s, and then by 2000 it was tore up completely. It goes Stook all the way out to Bayton, and then from there, the furthest point right here is Vaughn, New Mexico, and then from there go back into the Helix, and it goes back down to the main level, and that's where it moves back around, and you come back into Willow Springs. The building, like I mentioned, the train room itself is 100 by 40 feet. The building is actually what's called a barndominium style building. Pole barns, also called a pole barn home. What that means is that you have the living quarters attached to a shop area. It's just in this case, the shop area was finished out to residential standards, drywall, heat, cooling, and we're building a layout in it. This has actually been in the process since 2017, and we actually broke ground in September of 2020. And it took about a year to get it done. Some pictures of when it was being built. This is actually in about, I want to say November of 2020, and then this will be about later December. And this is what the train room looked like when we got it. Now, I do want to note that it does look a little bit darker because when we got it, there was only 3 rows of lights. We spent about a month and a half prepping the train room for the layout, and I'll go over some of the things that we had to do first, such as the crew room. It's actually a separate room from the layout, and if you look here, that's actually it. It has a standing style workbench, but you still pull chairs up and sit. Got a cooler, TV, all done, and then separate storage closet. That's a picture of our workbench. See our local Santa Fe buff, we'll make it smart. So it's got basically anything you need to work on your equipment. You know, you can paint, you can work on stuff in. We have a separate computer if you need to program or do anything else. This is looking the other direction. You can see, you know, the closet, everything mentioned. And I also make sure we got plenty of snacks for orders. So. And then that's the overall view of the room. And we got a big table for everybody to sit at. One of the things I did want to point out about our workbench, when it comes to programming, we use ESU DCC, the control, and that's kind of its, programming wise. You got the ESU, and then you have everything else. So that way you can work on whatever you need to. We have indicator switches. You flip it up, and it'll program ESU, and then you flip it down. We have what they call Digitrack, but if you got an NCS, Digitrack, TCS, that's what you can use to program that stuff. And of course, decoder tester. This is some of the stuff we had to do before we could actually start building Benchwork, which included building a wall. What's significant about this wall is that it comes out, it makes a 90-degree turn, runs about 80 feet, makes a 180-degree turn, runs another 80 feet, and then makes a 10-degree turn. So, had to get this built before we could do anything. So, just some in-progress shots. Now, one of the things I do want to note is how did we anchor this wall to the ceiling? Because it's not attached to the rafters. Well, you'll notice here, there's actually rods going up through the drop ceiling. And that creates 3 points of contact and actually does a pretty good job at stiffening up the wall. And then this is actually one of the things that Terry built. It's a jig for our benchwork. Since we're using a standard pattern, all of our spacing is 11 inches, so all you have to do is cut the appropriate size benchwork, and you can drop one in here, and it holds it all at a perfect 90-degree angle, so all you do is just run screws into it. And this is what it looks like when assembled. And what's significant about this is our first piece of benchwork. This is September 15th of 2022, or 21. So if a layout has a birthday, that's ours. And then using Terry's jig, Benchwork actually went in pretty quick. This is the first level. You have Joliet on this side, and then this is me and our junction on the other. And then while that was going on, we also started on the benchwork for the staging yard. Now, the goal when we first got started is get to a point where we can run trains. Otherwise, kind of lose motivation and things start slowing down. So this is what the benchwork looked like for the staging yard. And you probably also notice it's painted black. And the reason we painted it that is because staging yard is supposed to be off the layout. So, kind of paint it, that it's not really there, I guess you could say. So that's why we painted it black. And then this is also something else we used. The layout was designed in any rail. And what we can do with this, we also bought a Dell T210 printer, and we can print out the track plan in actual size. And these are in 1 foot increments. And using this, we can help build kind of complex curves. And then you see, once we get that done, actually it turns out pretty close to what the track plan says it should. While that was going on, we was also building the dispatch center. So nothing too special like this, just 16 on center wall, mini wall, paneling from, that can be sourced from Lowe's, give it a quick stain, and the benchwork or the countertop is butcher block, stained, and we got a couple of curve monitors, and this is overall what it looks like. So dispatcher has its own little area thing. Continuing with printing off track plans with the printer, we tape them together, and it kind of, again, helps us lay it out. And you see Alex was having some fun because we had a competition who's going to run on the layout first. Well, that's his attempt. You can see the track plan at work, so we know exactly how wide the benchwork has to be for the curves and where the track needs to be. And this is on one end, this would be on the other. This would be where the auto yard would be, and then on the other end, this is for the manual yard. So this would all be staging, stub end tracks. And then, of course, once we all got it built, it all got painted black. This would be on the basically the eastern end of the railroad. We, again, printing off stuff, printing off the track plan. This is the track beads for Willow Springs. So they call them the west runners, so 1 and 2, and then you got the main lines. And once we got that cut out and the benchwork glued together, we put it up on risers. So that gives us a nice level benchwork, and then start applying track cork. Now this shows how we applied our track. That we just use regular Elmer's glue, and then we got these jigs that we can put down, makes it nice and straight, and then put weights on there while it dries. Now, I know that this could be an issue when it comes to ballasting, because Elmer's glue can soften back up when wet, but we think that as long as we have weight on it, when we initially put the glue to it, it should be fine, but we'll have to see. So, and by doing that, it creates a nice smooth track bed, no nail holes or anything like that. And then, using the same pattern, this is for phase 1. This is the most western part, which is Enrock Junction. Then from there, we built down to the staging yard. So kind of same thing, road bed glued together with cork glued onto it. Then for the staging yard, you can either buy them in 4x8 sheets, which is what we did here. But what we found later is you can buy rolls of cork up to 30 feet long. So that's what we did with Emporia. So despite how long and big Emporia is, there's only one joint in it. So it's pretty nice. And then also, so you can see how everything's coming together. One of the things we want to point out here is our curve jig. The inside is 40 inches and the outside is 42 inches. And by had a local metal shop make that for us. So pretty nice to be able to put that down and just mark out when we're cutting out a double track bed, and then we have a single one too. And then once we got all the cork down, again, we got painted black. So that's what the staging yard overall looks like. And then once that's done, started applying, laying track. Each one of these, it's 9 pieces, so each track is 27 feet. The layout is being designed to run 25-foot trains. So you'll be able to park your trains in here and still have 2 feet to spare. And then once we got that in, we need to get that filled out before we can figure out where the curve for the return loop is. So once we got that in, and then tracks for the manual yard start going in. And that's what it looks like overall when it's done. Once we were finishing up with that, we built the return loop. This goes back to trying to get trains running as soon as possible. We're holding off on building Willow Springs for now, but we put this in so that way we'll be able to run trains. And using the return loop on the other, that's the other end of the railroad. So with that, we was able to have a couple running sessions, iron out some bugs. And then from there, we started building, this is at Joliet. There's a coal branch here. This is actually owned by Union Pacific, but BNSF, Santa Fe and BNSF have run coal trains in here before. And that's one thing we're modeling is the power plant here. And then you also see that the bench work for Curtis Hill starting to go in. And like I mentioned, mentioned, this is how the second level becomes the third. Then we also started working on the backdrop, which has been the bane of my life for the past 3 months, because that's what we've been working on. And that's also why currently layout's down, because it's covered up because all the drywall does. So it just nothing too special about that. We used kind of drywall standards, putty, tape, and then sanded and then repainted it. So, and then we were also weathering the track. So just used Krylon, Hunter camouflage brown, which look around the internet, that's what everybody seems to like. And then we're also, while we were initially putting in just Digitrack signals, we started swapping them out with appropriate signals where we could. Once we were done with all that, the benchwork for phase 2, this is starting at NR Junction, started getting built. This is just outside of Emporia, and then this is Emporia itself. At the other end, all the way around, you see the benchwork for Matthew Green starting to go in. A little bit more progress. You see everything's up on risers and the core's going in. And then with the next phase, we put a return loop, temporary return loop on the other end. And this is overall what it looks like. Now someday, the helix is actually going to occupy this space. And what's different about that is that it's actually a helix within the helix, because while you have level 1 going in, going up to level 2, at the same time, you have level 3 coming in, going around all that, and then coming out the Willow Springs. So that's going to be about a month-long project, we think, getting that built. This just shows how we did the backdrop. So it's glued in, stapled up there, and took glue dried, and then drywall sand, putty and sanded. This is what I call laminate board. It's I can't remember off the top of my head what Lowe's calls it, but it comes in 4x8 sheets, and it's actually very flexible. We really like it, and you'll see once we get on here, we're able to wrap around this stuff, and it doesn't break or anything.
Glue on? Glue on? Yeah, glue on. Glue on. Yeah.
There we go. So you can see kind of the progress. Once it's repainted, it makes a nice smooth backdrop, and then more progress. And you can see level 2 starting to make more progress. And then, in our junction, you can see again backdrop. That's what we've been working on. So, and this is pretty much done now. So that's what we've been focusing on now. Is we're starting on level 3, kind of working down. So you can see the benchwork starting to go up and a little more progress. So, and on the other side, this is pay attention. The track work is actually starting to go in, and this is actually getting pretty close to where we're at currently with the layout. This is actually one of the biggest, I guess, say boobies on the layout. This is on the branch line. While there is a bridge here, it didn't look like this, but we came into possession of a couple of BLMA bridges. Frankly, they're just too pretty to not use. So, and that kind of brings us to, well, what's next? Well, the goal is, and when I say goal, this is for the next 6 months or so, is complete the benchwork for levels 2 and 3, install the core, get out the track, get those wired up, switch machine signal, basically everything it takes to run on this. Finish weathering the track, which is a little bit more near term, because we need to get that done next month, because the layout's not up or runnable until it's done. And we want to have this done by September 15th of 2023. What's significant of that, because that's when the layout turns 2 years old. So all this part, everything I've been showing you, this has been done in the past year and a half. So that's pretty much it. Is there any questions? The question was, how many people are we working on this? Currently, we have 5 in our group, but at any given time, there's 2 and sometimes 3 people. We're we're down there usually about twice a week, working on this. Yes, sir.
I might have missed it, but where's the layout located?
It's in Columbia, Tennessee. We have business cards out there that has both our Facebook and Model Railroad Hobbyist. For those that's not on Facebook, it has our where we're at on there and our contact information. But yeah, Columbia, Tennessee.
Thank you.
I may have missed it, but why are you painting the benchwork in blues?
Good, actually, a good question. The reason why, back up.
Is that the root said sky or?
It is. It's to help, whenever you're running trains on, say, the second level and you look up, it's to help blend the upper bench work in with the backdrop. And then we've also found, and you probably have noticed that some of the bench work is not painted, but other is one of the things that we found, Tennessee humidity does get to this and it expands and contracts. So by painting it helps seal it so it doesn't move as much. And just simply, we weren't doing that when we built that, and since then we have. So, yes, sir.
You said there's 5 of you. How are you financing all this?
I am. So, yeah, I guess you can say, describe us as a semi-private, we're not a club. We're a semi-private group that's open for other people who want to come by and see it, run on it. But for the most part, we don't rely on dues or anything like that, so.
What's the height of the 3 levels?
Terry, I think you're going to help me with that. I know there's a 17-inch spacing between
Yeah,
the
it's about
two.
58. I can't remember off the top of my head now.
Top level's like what, 6 feet?
Yeah.
I want to say 58 for the
Yeah.
top level. I just can't think of off the top of my head what that.
It's 16-inch spacing in between.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Question on the helix, what's the diameter and what kind of slope is it?
The diameter and the slope. I don't think we've quite got that figured out yet. And the reason being is, we got to figure out, where the track or each level comes in, where it comes in, and then where does it need to go.
Yeah, the helix would be 1.5% grade.
There you go. 1.5% is what we're shooting for.
That's what the grade is coming out of the station yard.
What's the radius?
The minimum radius is 40 inches and above.
Yes. In case anybody didn't hear, the question was, what's the minimum radius? It's 40 inches. However, there is a curve there on the NR junction going into the staging yard. That's 36 inches. But that, if you stick on the main line, you won't see it. Yes, sir.
So the helix, minimum radius is 40 inches?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Nothing is under 40 on the main line.
Yes, sir.
Did I hear you say early on that this was designed such that a computer can run the railroad?
Yes. We use what's called railroad code to control our trains. It's capable of not only auto dispatching the railroad, and that's where it lines the signals, line your track, it controls the trains, but it can also auto run the trains. And I'm talking, be able to line switch, run one inside, get stopped where it should, and then run them back out. And the goal is to be able to use that to supplement operators, because currently we can run 10 trains at once, but once we get the next 2 levels done, we're going to run 17 trains at once. And we did time, with phase 1 done, we did time how long did it take for a train to get around, and only stopped once and took 26 minutes. So we're figuring about 20 minutes per level. So once it's done, we're thinking it's going to take about an hour to get around the layout. I see a question over here.
No, I missed it. How far west are you going geography-wise on your layout?
Currently, we're stopping at Vaughn, New Mexico, which is the halfway point. Why there? Because again, it's the halfway point. It's what we have room for. I know, who would have guessed from this issue? Will we go further? That's yet to be seen. We got we gotta get this done first, but I will say that, the building can be added onto, and there is a building site, that built on. So, yes, sir.
Are you going to have to put lighting between the layers, or are you just going to rely on the lighting?
Yes, we plan on, there's actually a very good article on My Road Hobbyist about what they were using, for their lighting between the decks. They had one LED strip pretty much dead center, and then they had another one at the aisle at 45 degree shining in. And it's two different colors, but when they combine on the layout, it is actually pretty spot on for natural sunlight. So that's what we're going to use. And they come in 100-foot rolls, and you can daisy chain them up to 300 feet on a single outlet. So that's what we're planning on doing. Yes, sir.
What did you decide for the spacing between the three levels? And also how far out it would come on the different levels?
It's 17 inches separation between levels. Now, how far out it comes, like Emporia, that is 4 feet, and then some places it's 3. And you reminded me of something else, building this that we learned. We did screw everything together, but what we found is by also gluing it, you'll notice that we have brackets here. Those are just regular, shelf brackets, but they're mounted upside down. Now, the reason for that is because our stuff is up on risers, the brackets, by attaching the top, the scenery is going to be about even with Benchwork or with a road bed. So it's actually, you're not going to see that. And you can see here how they're attached. So on the bottom side, it's a lot cleaner. You don't see the brackets. And then that brings me back to my original point. By gluing it, it really stiffens it up. And even though, see, like in this, in this shot, even once we got the glued on and the brackets up there, despite there being no obvious supports, it is stiff enough for
A 200-pound fat man to stand on it.
well, not only that, I was going to say I can actually do pull-ups with this.
Yeah, they can do pull-ups on it, it won't hardly move.
Yeah. So that's one of the lessons we learned. Gluing it also really helps. So, yes, sir.
How high will that upper level be?
I'm thinking it's 58 inches. So, and we're going to have to develop some kind of risers for.
How tall are you?
6'5". All right, 6'5".
6'5".
Yeah, he's hit his head a couple of times.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
He's 6'5", and he's about even with it. So, our tall 6'5" is. So, but yeah.
78.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there you go. I'm off. But yes, we'll have to develop some kind of riser for folks to stand on when they're following the train. So, we thought about that. Tribal stilts. Actually, sounds like not a bad idea. So, yes, sir.
So how much power you think you're going to need for it?
Are you talking motive power or electric power?
How many amps?
We are running 13 amps.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 amps. So we plan on running our trains pretty much like they really do on the real Transcon, 4 or 5 engines, at a time. And you'll probably need every bit of that power going up Curtis Hill, because just like a real hill, it gets up to 2.2%. So, if you can't get your train outside or out of the staging yard, 25 foot, then you're not going to make it up Curtis Hill.
We've had 10 trains out there on the system, and it don't blinch at all. You don't even notice it. And we use ESU systems, and we have been told by the ESU rep that we are the largest layout using our system.
And also one of the bigger reasons why we go with ESU versus Digitrack is Digitrack tends to have what's called a slot max if you have more than 99 addresses in there. And when you get, say when we get the layout done, you got 20 trains out there and each one of them's got 4 engines, well shoot, just trains out there running, we'll give it a slot max. So with ESU, they can store up to 16,000 addresses before you have to purge the system. So that's the reason, a reason we went with them. Yes, sir.
What was the design reason that you chose to have some of the Illinois division with Willow Springs and Joliet versus, say, Kansas City? Was it to have a major lift facility? And then operationally, how does that work out? When a train leaves Willow Springs and all of a sudden it's down in Kansas? Have you given any thought to that yet?
Well, operation-wise, kind of the overall plan, we wanted to have a major yard on one end of the layout, and Willow Springs, kind of fit the bill. As far as why we model, why we were kind of favoring a little bit more to the west rather than, just Willow Springs, Juliet, and then all of a sudden you're in Kansas. That's kind of a Terry question. But I think that goes back to we're modeling what hasn't been modeled.
And what's electric compression,
Yeah.
too, trying to figure out what are some neat spots then.
Yeah, Emporia had to fall out where it fell because of the length. And then when I designed certain areas, I had to design it for the curves and I had to make it fit in certain layouts. So unfortunately, there's a lot of spots we skip in Illinois, and but that's just the way we had to design it in the layout.
Basically, where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be great to do like Kansas City or Argentina, but it's the space that would take alone would be,
Yeah.
would be so much, and we really wanted to model, your Curtis Hill was a big one for all of us because we all spent a lot of time out there rail fanning, and those were the areas we really wanted to hit. But this way, it still gives us select different geographical regions of the Santa Fe.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
As far as construction goes, I wanted to compliment you. When I built my first layout, I was so anxious to get it built, I didn't take certain considerations into it, like what happens when the water heater needs to be replaced, things like that. Anyway, it looks like you guys went to a lot of trouble to really think about the building, how to build it, what has to be done, where you need the electrical, how to build the layout such that when things happen, you can work around it. So I really want to compliment you on that. You're going to like that.
Thank you.
You're going to like that someday.
Yeah, that's actually, a lot of thought has gone into this. Like I said, this actually started back in 2017, so we had 3 years to think about this stuff before we even, put a hammer to the nail. So that's what we like to think, that it's a very well thought out, but we're still learning as we go. We've ever seen stuff that we didn't anticipate. So kind of like wood swelling and shrinking and the humidity.
Dave?
Yes, sir.
I really have to compliment you on the quality of the construction that I've seen here. But I wondered, and I'm speaking a little bit from my own personal experience, sometimes you're building something along and you think everything's going right, and then you run into something that says, this was a mistake, and you have to pull something out and redo it. So have you had any of those kinds of experiences?
Not yet. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Kind of assuming this isn't your first layout, but what kind of background do you have?
Terry and I have experience. I mentioned that single club up there in Nashville. It's called the Dixie Mile Rail Club. We were active there for a few years, and then so we do have experience building a larger layout. But Terry and I kind of went our own direction because they decided they wanted to refocus on what they modeled and just didn't appeal to us anymore. So that's kind of, I guess our experience with it is we were one of the motivators behind, building a large layout like that. So.
Between the different levels, what are you planning on doing for lighting? In other words, as you add these next levels on, your ceiling light is going to kind of shade out the first level. So what are you planning on doing between there?
LED strips, have one at the front shining 45 degrees angle in, and then one in the middle shining 90 degrees straight down. So, and we're going to do 100-foot strips, which can be combined into 300, that on the same outlet. Yes, sir.
How big is the train?
It is, the train room is heated and cooled by 2 5-ton units, so that's what, it's 2 5 tons. And yes, there are some where they run on some sometimes.
You get to see that thermostat move, so it's pretty consistent.
Any other questions?
And one of the big things we had was keeping it in, staying the course. You get people all the time, well, how come y'all aren't doing any scenery yet? And people trying to understand you have to do everything in steps. Otherwise, you destroy. If you do stuff, then you're going to end up destroying stuff. And Dave's done a great job of being patient, and Terry and Dave making sure that sticking with the steps and the levels. And
All right, well, thanks, everybody.
We sure can't fault you guys on ambition. How about that? But it's very impressive. I look forward to see when you guys get a finished run and have an opportunity to share it.